Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Express, which is becoming everyone's favorite talk show. It is profoundly real and interesting, so without any further delay, please help me welcome back to the stage the beautiful and expressive director of Express, Carolyn. Carolyn, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Express Talk Show. My name is Carolyn and I'm your host. As usual, before we go any further, before we hear from our guest today, let me remind you that you need to share, like, and subscribe so that you can be inundated with the content. For those who have been following all this time, thank you so much for your dedication and your support to this channel. And for if there's anyone who just stopped by today, please, thank you. Just subscribe so that you can continue being with us. Today, my guest today, she is a strong woman. And her name is Enid Ocasio. Enid Ocasio. Let me tell you a little bit about her. There's more to her, but she's just given me the basic, and I'm going to tell you. Enid, she is a domestic violence advocate. She's helping victims. She helped victims make reports. She creates a safety plan for them, and ultimately, she gets the victims achieve a survival status. And then she said she is a grandmother of 4. Let me get her in so that we can have a conversation. All right. Here we go. One moment. Hello, Enid.
Hello, thank you. Thank you for having me.
Can you imagine us meeting like this? When was this? We met the first time. It had to be maybe about 5 years, 6 years ago.
Yep.
We're in we met you through John, and we
Yes.
were at a convention or conference, right? That's when I
Correct.
met you. Yes, good. So I'm glad I was able to invite you so that we can have a conversation today. And so she's going to tell you our story, audience. Where are you from?
I am from New York City, the Big Apple.
Oh, great. And you are one of
6. There's 6 of us.
children. 6 children.
2 of us have been adopted, but we don't make any indifference. We are
Okay.
all siblings.
Good. And okay. So tell me more about your schooling and so forth.
So funny that you may ask. I was just giving a presentation today on that.
Yeah.
My aspirations were to become a lawyer,
Okay.
an entertainment lawyer at that.
Wow.
And for all the wrong reasons, though, I just wanted to meet celebrities.
Okay.
However, this thing called life did come, and I just had to take one day at a time. My passion for law still exists, and that's why I keep up with it in many of areas. But I continue to continue my education. I did graduate high school a year before my time because I was just going to night school, going to day school, just trying to get it in, and I was working at the same time. Then I went to John Jay College,
Mhm.
and took up criminal justice as my bachelor's.
Okay.
Minor is in police science. And then I continued after that to achieve my master's at Walden University. Did that I did administration. By then, I was actually doing instruction and workshops on human rights and domestic violence.
Okay.
And I have some
So,
other certifications followed up after that.
okay. You said you ventured into studying about domestic violence. Was that because of a personal experience, or you just
It was a personal experience. It actually, as I was growing up, I lived in a domestic violence household. My mom
Mhm.
was a victim of my stepdad at the time, and it was something that I was didn't ever think that I would fall prey to. But just as I tell in my workshops and other victims that I've been working with, no one really ever asks to be a victim. So an
Mhm.
individual can fall prey to being a victim and know all the signs and know all the things that they do and do not like. But still, in all, when emotions are involved, when children are involved, when there are other aspects into a relationship, there is at times, circumstances that will lead you into falling prey to being a victim of domestic violence.
Mhm. So when you fell up to be when you became a victim, was it a surprise when it just happened, or you just didn't
Well,
know?
it wasn't so much that it was a surprise. I wasn't categorizing myself as a victim of domestic violence
Mhm.
because I didn't sustain any physicality in
Oh.
the forms of abuse that I was experiencing.
Mhm.
And that's one of the primary reasons why I do educate individuals as to what is domestic violence and um, what is formed from it. Because once again, I didn't get the physical. Many of times people think that because that it takes for a physicality for you to fall into the category of being a victim of domestic violence.
Okay.
There are many other forms.
So
So while
explain.
I did sustain, right, while I did sustain financial abuse,
Mhm.
emotional abuse, psychological abuse, digital abuse, I didn't deem that to have been part of being a victim of domestic violence. I thought that was, those were just things that did occur. But having learned more about it through my education and other people that I've spoken to because I had to go through counseling. I went both through individual counseling and family counseling as well. And then I started to really recognize and identify that I was in a domestic violence circumstance, although there was no physicality.
Okay, so let's just back up just in case someone just came in. We're talking about domestic violence, and Enid has had that experience, but what she's saying is that she didn't have physical abuse, but it was mental, financial, and it was three of them, you said,
Verbal.
verbal. So financial, verbal, and mental. All right, so go ahead now.
Right.
How did you feel when that was going on?
Well, due to the nature of it being verbal and emotional
Mhm.
and mental and psychological, I really didn't feel worthy. I felt like I was not ever going to amount to anything because that's exactly what was being told to me. And that's what I started to then believe, which
Leave.
many of times this is what ends up happening. They're being told, people are being told you're not worthy, you'll never amount to anything, nobody's ever gonna love you the way that the person supposedly loves you. You'll never ever accomplish anything because you are no one who's ever gonna give you an opportunity to do anything. And so one gets stuck in that and you start to believe it. And many of times do it to find themselves, try to work on them because they're being told that they're the problem, right? So they try to then change the to suit the person that's giving them the negative, right? The person who's telling them that they're nobody, nothing, they'll never amount to anything. So they're trying to really please the individual and try to work on themselves. And which never happens because you'll never.
You never ever get to that point. That's what you're saying.
Right. You'll never get to the person to the place where the person is actually going to be gratified with what it is that they would want for you or from you. Put it that way.
Did you experience depression?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely experienced.
Describe it if you can.
I was My weight was like a yo-yo. I was either losing weight, I was gaining weight, I was always exhausted. I just, and again, I didn't think much of myself, so I wasn't giving myself any sort of treatment. Like my hair wasn't getting done sometimes. I was looking a wreck. And
Mm.
again, because if I did doll myself too much, it's because I was cheating or I was looking for other men. And if I didn't doll myself too much, then I was, a fat slob and look at you, who would want to be with you. And so I was always put in a place where it was, if I was darned if I did and darned if I didn't.
Okay.
Right. So if I was doing good, they would make bad. If I was doing bad, they were actually, making me worse.
Worse. Were you anxious? Did it get you anxious at all?
At times,
Okay.
because you're stuck.
You're in and out. You're in and out.
If you
You're
can do
you're
no
you're
right. Yeah, I don't.
okay.
I see you
Keep
perfectly.
going, but sometimes you're in and out.
Yeah.
So audience,
Yeah.
I don't want them to miss it.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right. So
Okay. But no,
does any
sometimes again there was anxiety, but not much.
okay.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Did anything triggered the depression or make you, whether sometimes you were happy and then you found that maybe something triggered you back into how you were feeling at the time, depressed and anxious?
My triggers were basically when I was being called names or even indicating. Sometimes, even if it was a joke, I didn't take it as a joke because, again, you had already called me out of my name. You'd already, put me down, made, like they shamed me and things of that nature. So even if they were even saying it to someone else, that would trigger me
Okay.
because that was what was always toward me.
Okay. All right, continue. Give us your experience.
Okay, so I'm gonna mention a couple of the things that is what I have helped others with as well, because once you recognize it, you're able to actually then fix things and see things in a different perspective, right?
Okay.
So with domestic violence in itself is power and control. That's what my aggressor had over me. They had power and control, and how they established it and maintained it was by, as I mentioned, using the emotional abuse, the calling me out of the names, telling me how I wasn't worthy, how I'll never amount to anything or whatever. And then the psychological, which would follow it because I start to believe it. And so,
Mm.
therefore, in believing it, I'm putting myself, so I have no self esteem, no self encouragement, no confidence, be able to move forward. And then with the
So,
finances, again, that's another part where the end wasn't assisting, wasn't aiding in the paying of the bills, and even with groceries at times, where I was scrounging for pennies to be able to even feed my children. And so that became a bit, it was not even a bit, it was a whole lot for me to deal with. And so it became um I became depressed from it because I was like, how is it that I got here? How did I let myself get to this point? And so, therefore, once I started to then recognize, and it was through other individuals that were pointing things out to me, where then I started to realize, well, wait a minute, that's true. Because growing up, I was always, if I had something in my mind that I wanted to achieve to get, I would always go get it. I would achieve it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So growing up, I was like a tomboy. I was
Okay.
always playing sports. And I worked at a very early age. I got my working papers at 14, and I'm in my mid 50s now. But I just want to say, from the age of 14 till present day, I have not stopped working.
Mhm.
And even in my circumstances, I still continue to work. But again, it's that power and control that an individual will hold over you, will have over you, to the point where you will see yourself stuck and not able to move forward
Move
in
forward.
that
Yeah.
sense. And then because I did have two children, they were very young at the age at that time, which made it even more difficult.
Hmm.
Because although I had a partner, it was as if I was a single parent,
By yourself. Mhm.
right? So again, that too made it very difficult. So in at times I thought I had a third child,
Mm.
right? Because the person who was supposed to be aiding, assisting, and helping me move along, be better person, is actually the one that's creating all of the issues,
Mm.
creating the problem, right? And keeping me down.
What
So
about your
it's
confidence and your self-esteem?
what build it.
How was it at the time when you were going through?
Well, that's what I'm saying. It was down in the gutter.
Mm.
It was down in the gutter. I was just working because I had to work. I knew I had to work, and I was living check by check. And although I was active in my children's activities and their school and things of that nature, but it just wasn't enough for
Mm.
me. I didn't feel as if it was enough. I didn't feel as if I was I at times I really didn't even think I was a very good parent, that I was really doing well for my children. And although again, it took others to actually identify it for,
Yes, you were, right?
right?
You're doing your
It-
best. Mhm.
exactly. It took others to let me know that I was doing the best that I could with what I had,
Okay.
with under all circumstances. I was still moving forward.
Okay.
It was baby steps, but it was still moving forward.
Okay. Were you ever suicidal or anything like that?
I was not ever suicidal. I gotta say, that's an honest answer.
Mm.
And I always say, thank God for my faith,
Mm.
because that's where I always turn to, was my faith. And although even if I was in the lowest of feeling, in depression, but doing away with me was not
Mm.
ever a
Question.
question.
Okay.
It wasn't ever a question, and definitely not ever. And always also because I also had children. And if I'm not there for them, who's going to be there for them?
Yeah. But would you say that it is possible that one could be?
There are many of individuals. Yeah, there are many individuals who I've known that have ended their life because they didn't really feel as if they can really get out of the circumstance.
Yeah. At the end of the conversation, I'm going to want you to talk to those people, anyone in the audience who might be going through domestic violence and feeling that I can't take it anymore. I'm going to take my life. I want you to address that when we get further down. Okay.
Sure.
All right. So you went through that. And then, so what gave you the guts to be so involved in this now? Because you have done so much. Tell us more about what are you doing now? Where are you putting your energy to help others who are
Um,
going through the same problem that you are going through, that you were going through?
right. So while I've never been in a shelter, and I thank God for that,
Mhm.
because that was one of the things that I always felt that I had to work for to never occur.
Mhm.
I do work with a lot of women in shelters.
Yes. Okay.
So I do a lot of fundraising.
Okay. Yeah.
I During the holidays I do toy drives. During the winter, after the holidays, I would do sock drives, anything that individuals actually need. I partner up with a lot of other not-for-profit organizations
Okay.
as well as private organizations. I do also assist at times other agencies, other, city agencies that perhaps may need assistance in maybe getting information for where can someone go for counseling, where can someone go for a job interview. A lot of times people are not ready because they've been stuck in a circumstance where they've never had the opportunity to work, or they've never really had an opportunity to be able to get an education. And so, or sometimes just a minimal, something very minimal, as just having a support group, having a group where you may be able to go and tell your story or just listen to others. And which is what really helped me when I was going through the circumstance, was a support group
Mm.
that I initially, when I went in, the first 3 weeks that I was there, I didn't say a thing to anyone.
You
I
just
just went
observe.
and I just listened. Right. I just listened. And
Mm.
that's when I started to realize, wait a minute, I'm not alone.
Right.
I'm not the only one going through this. There are others, and there were others that were actually going through something worse.
Mm.
And I'm sitting there and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I gotta get out of this funk because I'm not, like I'm not alone. We can together. And so we would
Steady
encourage each other.
strength. Mm.
Exactly. We would encourage each other. We would share scriptures with each other. And we actually build a bond with each other. We would have festivities where we were doing potlucks and we were cooking for each other. We were gifting each other because once somebody would say that they liked something or whatever, and if we were somewhere and we saw something that somebody said that they liked, we would actually get it for them. And when
Oh,
we come back
that's
to
good
the next meeting, we're
community.
like, oh, I saw this. I reminded me of you. And so again, we build a bond, and it gave us a sense of security that we are not alone.
Mm.
And I got to say, I was still with my abuser at the time when I was going through these things, and they did try to stop me from going
Mm.
because what do you think what was happening?
Because you were getting stronger.
I was getting stronger. I was building my confidence because I was realizing that there were others that were going through things, and together we were encouraging each other, we were empowering each other, and there were things that were being imparted in us. Actually, that's where I learned how to crochet because
Mm.
somebody was a very good they did crocheting, and she was teaching everyone else. um, I learned a couple of other recipes from other nationalities because people were sharing. And so we're going back home and we're doing things, and it was like it just built confidence. It was empowering. And so when I was every time I would go home, I guess they were noticing a difference in me. And even when they were trying to put me down, it wasn't bothering me as much anymore. It wasn't putting me into the set where I was believing what they were saying.
Okay. You didn't feel like you're in a box, so.
Exactly.
Mm.
And I think ultimately that's what broke that individual, where they felt and they knew that they no longer had that power and control over me,
Mm.
and
How?
they themselves made the decision to leave.
Oh.
So, and I let that happen. They wanted to make it seem as if they were ending the relationship with me.
Okay.
Like they couldn't take it anymore, they have to move on, they have to do better. And at that point I was like, I agree. Yes, you do need to do better. I'm not the person for you. So and again, this is all that was acquired through the support group. It
Mm.
was using reverse psychology. They were trying to use that as if they couldn't do better because of me. And I was like, I agree. You can do a whole lot better without me. And it happened very peacefully. And that was always my prayer. I didn't want our departure, our
Mhm.
separation, to be something that was going to be egregious, to be something that was going to be nasty, or anything that involved law enforcement.
Okay.
And it was always my prayer that, that when we did part, that it was a peaceful parting, and that, that person would be happy as well as myself with my two children. And
But
that's exactly how it happened.
okay. But you will agree that most often it doesn't get like that.
No, I will agree that not it doesn't always end that way,
Okay. Okay.
right?
So
It doesn't always.
someone is going through this domestic violence, and their situation won't be like that. So the person may be a little bit more aggressive, and they want to escape.
Right.
Can you give a suggestion? Are you allowed to?
Oh,
Um, okay, go ahead and
yeah,
give a
absolutely.
suggestion how.
And that's exactly what it is an escape.
Yeah,
Because you can't just pack a bag and say, I'm leaving, I can't do this no more, bye, won't see you ever again.
because it might
It
cost.
never happens that way,
Mhm.
right? So therefore, you do have to plan. And that's where the safety planning comes in. And so that's where we would sit, I'm saying me, that's where I would sit with the victim and ask, because who better than the victim to give you the information that's most safest for them?
Mhm.
They know their offender, they know what their offender is capable of doing, or at least they know what the threats that the offender has been making, and
Mhm.
if they're going to see to it or not. And so, therefore, gathering information as to if you get home late, what happens? If you do not come home, what happens? If you change your way of dressing, what happens? So, we got to get a lot of facts as to what the relationship looks like if there is a slight of a change from your day to day dealings. And once we gather that information, then we will start with okay, now let's start to plan on how you will remove yourself. And it's little by little. Again, the safety planning portion, it can take anywhere from 3 months to 6 months, sometimes up to a year, before that person actually, and meaning the victim, actually builds up enough confidence to
Courage.
say, this is the time, this is the moment, this is the opportunity that I must take. Otherwise, it will never happen.
Plus, when they have children, it's a little harder, isn't it?
Especially,
Mhm.
especially. And you know what? Support from family, from friends is very important. Even if they work, support at their employment is also very important. And
Okay.
there are laws also that have been put in place for the protection of employees, the realm of domestic violence as
Mhm.
well. So all these things play or come into play when we are safety planning, when the safety planning is being put in place for a victim to be able to be removed from their violent home, and especially if there's children. So we want to assure that when they do finally get to the point where they are removing themselves and their children, that they're going into a safe haven.
Okay.
If whether that be a shelter, whether that be another residence that they may have, gathered money, finances, a lease been signed and things of that nature, and that it's safe for them to be in that location without the offender knowing where it is. There are different there were a lot of measures that are being taken into place. And we start with baby steps. We start with, start to gather your personal information, such as birth certificates, immunization cards, identification, if you have any certifications, if you have diplomas, anything of that nature. Those things are hard to achieve if
Yeah.
they are lost. So therefore, either put them in a Ziploc bag, have them all together, or I've even helped individuals put them on a flash drive so
Okay.
that they could always, make a copy of it. But but a license, like a driver's license, or if you are of a profession like a nurse or things of that nature, you need that license to be able to find employment somewhere else. So you want to safeguard those items.
Okay.
And then
So
you also,
let's stop for a minute and then just so you're letting the audience know that it is possible to get out of that situation, and the measures that needs to be taken place. You encourage, you have a conversation as to what their home situation is like. And then from the information that they give you, then you can strategize. Yes?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
And
Yes.
this is what you're saying. They get their documents. And have you ever heard of a situation where the partner hid their documents?
Oh, yes. All the time, especially green cards,
Hmm.
citizen, visas, identification in and of itself. And not only hid it, but perhaps even burned it
Wow.
or shredded them
Hmm.
to the point where they have to reapply because they're not attainable anymore.
Okay.
Hmm.
But with the agency behind them, makes it a little easier for them to get it, right? Because is that so?
Sometimes,
Um,
because sometimes, especially when it comes to like passports and visas, those are very hard to get
yeah,
from the
because
get
it's
go.
out of okay.
Right, they're hard to get from the get go. So now trying to get replacements. That's where it's important for police reports to be placed, and
Documentation so that later on.
if there are circumstances that do occur, you have reporting system, you have a tracking system that will indicate that, you know what, I didn't lose this on purpose, I didn't sell it, because that's a lot of times, especially with passports,
Hmm.
the federal government would always question whether you sold it, whether, what happened to it, why would you let something of that nature go so quickly, and things of that, they ask very hard questions where they actually make you feel like you did it on purpose, when that may not have been the case.
So you're also saying that when this situation is happening, they should go and report it to the police
Yes,
so that
which
they
is
have a
very
form of documentation. So if later on they needed to escape, it's already, or if they lost their passports or any documents that maybe they took their head, then they can go back to that. All right, good.
important.
What else do we need to talk about? You
Um,
mentioned about the support group. Is this something like AA group, right?
um,
Like,
it, it's not mandatory,
oh, it's not
so
mandatory, but
it's not mandatory. It's something that is recommended for individuals, and they can join whenever they want to. And like I stated, when I went in the first 3 weeks or so, I never said anything. I never spoke. I just attended.
mm,
Because again, I didn't feel like my story was even worthy,
okay,
especially after hearing other people's story.
right.
Uh, but again, it's encouraged. It's strongly encouraged for people, because that's one of the things that we always say about domestic violence, is that these are the avenues that you will then realize, and that's exactly what happened with me, is that you are not alone. There are other people that are enduring, that have gone through worse perhaps, but they've sought through, they've overcome their circumstances. And so that's why we always say your story can help somebody else,
Good story.
because it builds the confidence, it builds the courage and the guts to continue moving forward.
Someone might be watching right now because really, I'm really catering for those who are watching, and I'm hoping that someone somewhere will be listening and will gain from this conversation. Do you have a group where you can suggest to anyone who is watching to go to? Do you have a number eh, that you can suggest for someone to go to get support?
Sure, most definitely. Well, I do work with an organization called Safe Horizon.
Hmm.
And so I always share their phone number. They have a 24-hour operating number, which is 1-800-621 HOPE, HOP.
Okay.
And again, that's a 24-hour operating number. And it is within the New York City area, within the 5 boroughs, but they also are in Long Island. And they do, and if anyone from the outer states, if you do call that number, they probably will navigate. It'll probably navigate you to
Back to where
wherever it is you
they're
are,
located.
right? Wherever you are. And I always, again, also imminent danger, 911. Always. If you are in imminent danger, 911. If there is a circumstance where you want to get assistance, but your offender is by you, like if they know that you're on the phone with somebody trying to get help, they will take the phone away from you. They'll break it. They'll, I can't even say they'll pull it out of the wall because not a lot of people have landline anymore, right? Everybody has cell phones. So they'll take the cell phone, they'll break it, they'll throw it out, or they'll put a block on it, whatever it is, but they remove it so that you don't get contact with anyone. So here in New York, I know in New Jersey and Long Island also, they do have the accessibility to text into 911. And so therefore you can let know that you are in danger by texting into 911. Another way that you can also gain assistance is if you use any of the apps, like for DoorDash, Uber, or any of the restaurant app, you could always put in, and remember, all your prudent information is there, right? Because the food has to be delivered to an address, it has to be delivered to a person, and they have to call you when they get there. So all prudent information is already there: your address, your name, and your phone number. So now what you're doing is in the comment area, you're going to put, whatever it is, I am in need of assistance. Please call 911 for me. Or,
Can we stop right there? So can we stop there? I want you to repeat that because someone made a mistake. Just repeat.
Sure. So we're going to start again with the 1-800-621-HOPE. That's HOP. That's a 24 operating number.
You said HOP or HOPE?
HOPE.
Okay.
HOPE.
Yeah, because you said HOP. Go ahead.
Okay. And then you have imminent danger 911. And there is also the texting capability into 911. So if you want to discreetly let the police or law enforcement know that you need their assistance, you can text into 911. You also have, what we share with others is applications to either restaurants or like DoorDash or Uber, where prudent information is already there, meaning they already have your address, they already have your phone number, they already have your name. So in the comments section is where you're going to put what it is that your need is. I need the police, I need an ambulance, and you can give a little description of what is going on, so that this way, whoever is getting that message, whether it's at a restaurant or if it's an Uber driver, whoever it is that you're sending it through whatever application, they're getting you the assistance that you are asking for. And again, this is for an individual who cannot call 911 or anyone because the offender is present. So therefore, you're able to do it discreetly before they even grab the phone off of you, or, because many of times when you grab up the phone to call somebody, they're going to take it out of your hands. They're going to break it. And then now you have no way of communicating with anyone. So those are ways of staying safe.
I saw I'm going to make two suggestions because I saw these. I was looking at a TikTok recently. This lady, it wasn't really it was a TikTok.
Is it the sign?
It was in yes, I've seen that. That. What is that sign again?
They have this one, which is in front of you,
yes.
which means you need help.
Yes.
So it's for when somebody's either being human trafficked or sexually abused.
Okay.
So like if somebody knocks on your door, you have to answer because your offender's there with a gun in your head and they're behind the door. You can go like this, like if you're saying bye.
Yeah.
But
bye.
Sign for that person to call 911 or get assistance.
There's
also the one behind your back.
Oh, that's one. What is that?
It's behind your back and you're just doing that.
Oh, okay.
But
so your hands are behind you and you, okay.
and you're doing
I
this.
saw something. I saw one
Yeah,
person was being rescued because of that. And
right.
as I saw the TikTok, and I don't have a cup now, but this lady, she was in the aeroplane beside, I don't know if it's a fiance or a husband or whatever, but she had written on her cup, help.
Oh, on the bottom.
No, not on the
You
bottom,
mean
at
like
the
this?
side. Yeah, at the
Oh,
side. And
okay.
she and the flight attendant was very attentive. She picked it up right away and she took her out from the seat. That way she was sitting
Mm,
beside the person.
right.
Another
So
one,
I know I've helped people. I've told people to put it in the bottom of the cup.
yes.
So
Oh,
as
yes.
you're drinking,
Oh,
it
at the
says
bottom
help.
of the cup.
Right,
Okay.
because on the side they can see it.
Yes,
So
right.
if you
But she
turn your cup for
turned it, turn, when she's going through the passageway, she just turned it so she would see her. She asked
right.
for a tea, but she pointed to it. Then I
Okay.
saw one where this woman used her lipstick and wrote on the window of the
Oh,
car that she was in, help. She need help.
awesome.
All right, so
Awesome. Yeah,
there's
those are different techniques. There are different techniques. And again, it all is depending on that conversation that you're having with the victim and what would be the most safest for them.
right,
And again, the victim can tell you more about what's safe for them
right, because they
because
know
they
the
know
person.
exactly.
Okay. What motivates you to be a part of this? Of course, you've been through it, but you could think, oh, well, I've been through, I've now separated, divorce, or your situation. I can move on with my life. Do you think you could move on without doing this?
I don't think so. And I think it's all part of paying it forward. Someone helped me
Hmm.
and it's paying it forward. And it's like I tell people this is not a job for me because I enjoy it.
Okay.
I find it very gratifying that I'm able to help somebody, even if it's just by giving them a phone number to get them help.
Yes.
But getting that call back and saying thank you very much, the person was able to help, or these people actually spoke to me, made sense to me, and that it's just a gratifying. So to me, it's always just to pay it forward.
Mm.
And if ever I don't have a daughter, so I can't say
Okay.
that if ever my daughter experienced it. But you know what?
Men,
Domestic violence happens to men as
men
well,
too. Yes,
and
I'm
I do
sure.
have boys. And if they were ever in a circumstance, I would have want somebody like me to be able to help them.
Okay.
And so I just feel that it's a calling that has been placed on me, especially because someone helped me. So I just want to be that someone as was that for me.
And this is why people who have a story, it was not given to them just like that. Yes,
Exactly.
they experienced the pain, but from that pain, look what's happening.
Came
You
again,
are
as I
able to
always
help
say.
so many other. What did he say?
I said, well, from that pain came a gain.
Yes.
Hmm.
So whatever anyone is going through right now, look at it as God is preparing you to prepare
Hmm.
others. Whatever experience you go through, you are going to be the best person to help someone else. Someone who has never had this experience, you're talking to someone, you're just talking from your mouth, literally. But someone who has been abused, whether it's mentally, spiritually, socially, sorry, or physically, you have experience. So when you're talking to someone, you can identify with that person. If there's anyone who is watching this show right now and you would like to be a part of this, is there the same 100 number that you gave before? They could call
The
that
same
number.
100 number, right?
Okay.
But I will give my number. I can
Yes.
give
Go
you
ahead.
my
Go
cell
ahead.
number,
Go
which
ahead.
is going to
Go
be
ahead.
917
Mhm.
687 7589. And again, I do a lot of fundraisings, I do a lot of community service,
Yes.
and I most definitely do a lot of assisting women and men and children to be able to either, I mean, and again, it all is in the need. What is the need of that individual? What keeps that individual from not leaving? That's the need. So whether it be financial, whether it be because they need clothing, whether it be because they need food. So therefore, I partner up with food pantries. I partner up with individuals that actually donate clothes. We just actually, and when I say we, because there was a couple of other nonprofit organizations that joined in with me in getting prom dresses for girls that parents couldn't afford,
Good.
and suits for men, I mean for boys, because they couldn't afford it. And then we had a couple of men teach the boys how to do a tie. But we
Mm,
also had those same men teach the mothers how to do the tie for their sons.
that's good.
And so there were many of individuals who donated dresses, they donated clothes, they donated jewelry, they donated perfume, makeup, they
Mm,
donated everything that is needed to make that prom or graduation day for their children special. And so we do this we usually do it at the end of April. We start collecting dresses, and in May we start to have the we call it the outreaches, but it's, having venues where we have these individuals come in with their children so that they can get fitted. So it's sort of like the same concept of saying yes to the dress,
okay.
and the boys saying yes to the suit.
Okay.
And we have toy drives, we have sock drives, we have our own like chat and choose. We have our own, and we don't do sip and paint, but we do coffee and design. I don't encourage alcohol at all, so we do have it in other forms.
Yes, and I've seen your events that you have.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
the audience, they're seeing it now. They'll see. Okay. Last question. Maybe I asked you before, but in a summary, what advice would you give to those that face this challenge in their life right now? To 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 sum it up, maybe 3 points, maybe 5 points.
Sure.
However, how many you want to give in a
Okay.
nutshell.
Well, first and foremost, I always want to say you're not alone. I'm here now. Miss Carolyn is here.
Mm,
We are here for you to navigate, to call whoever it is that we need to call to get you the assistance.
yeah.
So never ever think that you ever alone. Somebody will always be available to get you help. Secondly, is you are more than what you think you are. You are strong, you are powerful, you are you of course you are pretty, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, right? And these are affirmations that we also tell individuals to say to themselves, because
Yes.
you need to speak to yourself many of times. And so therefore you need to say them to you so you start to believe it, and believe that you are worthy, you have purpose, you are valuable, and know that and never ever forget it. And most importantly is also is getting the the strength. You have strength, you have strength to move forward. And while you don't think you do, trust you me, you have strength. Because the minute that we start to put stuff into place, and I see it time and time again where people always go, well, I can do this, oh wait, no, I can go here, oh, I can reach so and so. They're coming up with ideas and they're coming up with solutions for themselves, but it's because they've never had the opportunity to actually think for themselves.
Mm,
And so know that have you have sense for yourself. And so always believe in you, believe in believe in God first and foremost,
mm.
and believe in you. You can do it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for stopping by
Absolutely.
and
Thank you for having me.
sharing your story. And your test is now a testimony, and you
Yes.
are helping others. And this is why I tell people, when you're going through your struggle, just, you know, try and go through it, because you are being trained for something. Who would
Mhm.
dream, Enid, that you would be doing this today?
Not at all. I did not
A-
even think about it.
Amen. Amazing. I'm so glad for you that you're there helping these young ladies to get to the next level from their struggle. And you're doing so really big. I was wondering if maybe we could do this another time, where we could show some of the events that you've been to, if that's okay, or maybe they're just privacy or confidentiality with not letting anyone see the people who you've helped. Would that be a problem?
No, no, absolutely. I
Okay,
mean,
so
even if I have any future events, I'll make sure to let you know, and you can invite others to
okay,
attend as well.
okay, good, 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 good. So that we can, help others, continue to help others to move on. Thanks
Yes.
again for being here. It was a pleasure talking with you. It was a really good conversation. It took us a while, right? But
But it was good.
it was good. I feel very relaxed. I could continue talking with you. Thank you so much for all that you do. We really, really appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Take
All
care.
right.
Until another. Yes, that was a very great conversation with Enid. You see, you meet people in life and you never know when you're going to meet them again. And you never know what they've been through. And you would never know what they're doing to the community to help. And when I met Enid about maybe 5 years ago, I didn't know what she's been through, and I didn't know the purpose, her purpose that she's pursuing. And she has so much more than what she explained to you. So let us just value each other. We all can fit in this life, to do something for our community. Some experience that we know we've had, and we'll be able to help other people with the experience that they are going through. I have two thoughts. One was given by Enid. She likes this one. It's anonymous. Said,
Excuse me.
inspire, aspire to inspire before you expire. And the thought that I'm going to leave, it's from Chantel Ogden. Chantel Ogden. 3 words. Love shouldn't hurt. Love shouldn't hurt. Open and close quotation by Chantel Ogden. Well, it's Carolyn, your host from Express, saying bye bye. Until, remember to like, share, and subscribe until we see you again. Bye bye now.